plan, though, innit, Potsy? Their plan, was to buy all these youngsters. And because that's what everyone's been saying. Yeah, but in 2 to 3 years, all these players will have the experience and then we'll be cooking. So first of all, okay, so let's just assume that you're right. So effectively what you're saying is for 2 to 3 years, your club is basically just dead because you're telling me that you're not existing for 2 to 3 years because that's when all your players are going to start playing good, right? So for 2 to 3 years, your club basically don't exist. Then in 2 to 3 years, you've actually got to hope that the players develop in the way that you think. And I said this from time. Football doesn't work like that, man. Not every youngster will grow and get better and better and better. We've all had players at our football club where they come through 18, 19 years old, they play a couple of games and they're absolutely mint. And everyone, we've all done it, said this guy is going to be the future of our football club. And then the season after, they're crap. And they don't get better and they get worse. And I go, oh, actually, he's not that good, is he? He just might have just had a couple good games and that. Football does not work where every young player gets better. It's not FIFA, man. You know what I mean? They don't all get better. So a lot of the players that Chelsea have bought will end up being rubbish. And then the ones that are good, are they going to want to stay there if they're not competing for the Premier League, if they're not competing for Champions League? I mean, come on, man. You know, they've got a manager who's managed Leicester in the Championship. And he done a good job on that. If these players are as good as people think they are, they're going to want to move on to better clubs who are actually, going for stuff. This is why I've said it. The strategy was wrong. I got no problem with them buying some of these young players, but they should have mixed them with more experienced winners. So you've got a blend. Yeah? You can't just buy a load of 19-year-olds and go, don't worry, lads, in 3-4 years, we'll be the best team in the world because we've got all the best players. Don't work like that. Never has, never will.
That bit I agree with. Where I would say is they should be looking at players like Moreno. I like the Tosin deal. I like the Dewsbury Hall deal. When it comes to attackers, I can't believe they haven't bought a striker. I see him linked to like Samuel Amarodian and Duran. I think why? And then you see links to like Ivan Toney, and I think exactly. You throw Ivan Toney, Moreno, Dewsbury Hall, Tosin into this team. They'll be better than they were last year, in my opinion. They'll be more consistent because they've got that experience. But it's all these youngsters they're signing. I think they're part of the plan, but they can't rely on them. They absolutely can't. No. It's about getting that balance absolutely right. This idea of they're all going to develop and flourish at the same time. Show me where that's ever happened without a solid core group. So I think there's talk, and I saw that Simon Phillips shared it today, that Chelsea are going to try and sign 2 to 3 more players in this month. They have to be players that are early to late mid-20s. That's where they need to be. So yeah, maybe they're copying Arsenal's homework here. I don't think it matters. They need players like this Moreno. They need to go and get someone of that level to come into that midfield, especially as the future of Enzo Fernandez does look up in the air right now. And I know that some people think it will all be brushed under the carpet and it'll all be okay. I don't necessarily think it will be. You've seen the reaction of some of his Chelsea teammates. There's investigations going on. The club may have to... It's not even about the club taking action against what he did. It's the club taking action because of how the dressing room now feels against him. They've got that situation to look at as an example. But I think they do need to add more experience into their 24, not 25. I said early to late mid-20s. So that means 23 to like 28. In my opinion, that's kind of what I meant. In that bracket, that is what they need. 110% Chelsea to, and then I do believe they can make the top 4. There was a comment that came in there to challenge us. It says from Matt that says, if Chelsea are so bad, why are they the 4th favorite for the top 4?
The 4th favorite. What?
I mean, does that mean 4th favorite to win the league? Because that would be the same thing, right? They can't.
If they're the 4th favorite top 4, that means they come in 8th. Then. Is that what they're saying?
And if they're favourites to come 4th, that means they're 4th favourites to win the league. This is Premier League winner odds. Let's take a little look. We'll do it by the winner odds because there's no odds for top 4. It's based on the winner odds, isn't it, really? And then you work it down. So where are Chelsea ranking in terms of winning the league? They are 4 favourites to win the league according to the bookmakers.
That's just stupid though, isn't it? Because look at the state of why are Aston Villa 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 favourite to get top 4? That's just ridiculous. So if you want to go off odds, then be my guest. You know what I mean? I'll go off of what I see with my eyes. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, what I'm looking at right now is not good. You know, you've got issues with Enzo, yeah, with which obviously Terry just mentioned. What's going to go on with that mess? You got the whole Chalobah situation, mess. You got the Conor Gallagher situation, mess. Who's going to be putting the ball in the back of the net as a striker? Yeah. What's going on with the goalkeeper situation? So, you know, we've got that's just five things off the top of my head. And I've not even been online for the last couple of days, man. I'm chilling in it. So there's probably other stuff going on there as well. And you're trying to tell me that because the bookies say the full favourite. Remember, the bookies go off what people put in money on. Do you know what I mean? So if loads of people are slamming money on Chelsea to get top 4, then the odds will short, and that's the way it works. They don't just decide that, we think that. That's not how it works. It goes where they short and where the money goes. So, you know, for me, I just look at it and think, listen, they've got players that if they all turn up on the day, yeah, and they turn up for a season, they could potentially get top 4. But it's a big ask because these players, they don't turn up. Some of them, you know, got injury prone. We have no idea what's going to happen with the manager. This manager's just come from the Championship. Do you know what I mean? Like Newcastle, by the way, yeah, they're obviously now got a team back. Last year, they had an injury-ridden team. Aston Villa are mint, like mad disrespecting in my opinion. So listen, they can get top 4, yeah, if everything goes right. But do you have any faith that everything's going to go right for Chelsea based off the last 3 years? I just don't, man.
This year, Gunnar Carlos says Arsenal have been top 4 favourites since 2004. Facts checker says LB and Dan, if you believe you have what it takes to advise football clubs on managing their operations and deciding which players to buy and sell, consider pursuing a career within the football club.
I guarantee you now 100 million%, if I would have been given 1.5 billion pounds to spend after Chelsea won the Champions League in 2021, they would have been in the top 4 last year. 100 million, because you know what I would have done? I would have bought all these bozos for like 80 million quid who no one even know. I would have bought proven winners, and I would have kept managers, yeah, who actually know how to win stuff. I wouldn't have got Graham Potter, yeah. I wouldn't have got who else they got? How many managers they had since this guy come in? I can't even remember the managers. What managers they had?
Poch, Lampard.
Yeah, I told you the guy's a fraud. Yeah, I told you he's a fraud. I wouldn't have got him. I wouldn't have got Graham Potter.
Lampard came back. Lampard came back.
I wouldn't have got Maresca. So yeah, man, you know what I mean? You can put that comment out there and pretend like what we're saying is crazy and that we're just being like mad arrogant. But at the end of the day, I would have had Chelsea as an owner with 1.5 bill in the top 4 easy. Not even. I know. I would have done that, bro. I know it sounds mad, yeah.
Do you know what this reminds me of? This comment. I don't know if you boys used to watch it because it was horrendously cringeworthy when it first came out. But the X Factor with Simon Cowell, when somebody would come onto the stage and go, and they go, "You're not very good," he go, "Like to see you try." That was how they did. That was their actual reply. It wasn't actually, "I'm not very good." It was, "Like to see you do better." That's what Facts Checker is doing here. He knows that we've got a point. He doesn't want to try and stick up for himself, so he just goes, "Oh, let's see if LB and Dan Potts can run Chelsea." There, do you know what? Unlike LB, I would not want to do it. Do you know why? Don't appoint me because I ain't got a clue how to run a football club. That's why I don't do it. Yeah, but I'll probably do as bad as Todd Bodie's doing right now. That's what I'll probably do.
You would have done much worse, bro. Put it that way. I mean, I think it would have actually been a challenge. Genuinely, right? If you took that 2021 Champions League team and I gave you 1.5 billion pound, yeah, and said, "Dan, I want you to get this team that's just won the Champions League to finish 8th." And you've got and you have to spend 1.5 bill and you need to finish. Bro, I don't know. I actually genuinely don't know if you would have been able to do it that bad.
That's like one of them football challenges where if you get the ball squared, even if you're in the middle of Wembley, well, not in the middle of Wembley, you're in Wembley Stadium, you're 3 yards from goal, the ball gets squared to you, the goal's open net. I still think in front of 80,000 people, it's still harder to miss than it is to score. And that is what Chelsea have done in actuality. To be a Champions League winning team.
They come 12th, not 8th, by the way, LB, just to let you know.
Yes, no.
You're thinking of Arsenal coming 8th. Yeah. Thinking of Arsenal. Wesley here having a pop at me, I think. He says, "Terry, you're acting like United off the signings are now peak Madrid. Should we expect a title? I mean, we haven't even mentioned Man United. All I've stated is that if I was looking to improve Man United, you got to remember this. So when it comes to talking about Chelsea squad, we're talking with knowledge. So when it comes to new signings, we have a certain amount of knowledge about them. But I know who has and hasn't worked at Chelsea. So I've said to improve Man United now, I'd take 4 or 5 of their players. That's still quite a lot. There's lots of them I wouldn't take. But at what point, Wesley, did I say Man United are as good as Real Madrid? Where have I even suggested that, my friend? I haven't spoke about Man United with any detail at all. That's just a weird deflection, in my opinion, bro. It really is. But Lenny Yoro and Xerxes say hi. The fact that clubs like Spurs, Newcastle, West Ham, and even United under the Glazers have had better transfer windows than Chelsea in the last 2 years speaks volumes.
Wow. I mean, look, some of that is fairly true. Some of that perhaps is debatable. I think some of the players Chelsea have bought in have been good. We've discussed the ones that we think have been fair, but there's been a lot of very meaty players. I mean, you mentioned Enzo. That could go down as quite an embarrassing one, couldn't it? £115 million. He's not really cooked yet. He's failed to really impress. And now he's got all of this off the field politics going on, which does not look very good for him. And, he's just one, along with Mudryk, that you look at and think, how much did they spend on these players? Absolutely madness. And I know Manchester United and even Arsenal have done it over the years. But when we have done it, and I think you'd agree with this, Terry, we've held our hands up as a fan base and gone, that was poor. Like Pepe for 72 million and Mustafi for 38 million or whatever it was. And you've done it with Anthony now and Maguire, 80 million. But you and I would sit there and go, cool, they were bad signings, weren't they? Some of the Chelsea fans, when you question that it might be a bad signing, like Mudryk, well, he's better than Martinelli. One, I don't think he is. And two, is a hell of a lot more. Martinelli was 6 million. 6. Mudryk was 66 million, wasn't he?
Do you know what it is? We all do it. Like, I would like nothing more this season for Anthony to turn into a world-class player. It would, because it'd be beautiful. I would love for Sancho to stay and deliver. But if I'm being really honest, and I'm about to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. If I'm being really honest, in my heart of hearts, I kind of know they're never going to make it at my club. So I just want them moved on. And we've brought Barada into Man United. And one of the reasons I'm really happy about this was listening to him speak while he was at City. And what he said at City is that City have a policy where a player gets a maximum 2 years. In fact, anybody at the club gets a maximum 2 years to start producing and yielding a return, no matter what they do, or they're basically gone. And I sat there and thought the amount of times my club in the last decade has continued to try and flog a dead donkey when we know they're not good enough. And because you love your club and you've got this emotional connection to it, which is there, oh, this might be the year. The amount of pre-seasons I've watched Scott McTominay and gone, oh, maybe he'll get better this year. Man's about 28 now. He ain't getting better. And you have to move on from these people quickly. And both those players you've mentioned for Chelsea are getting close towards 2 years at the club. Where I defend the two players, though, is that there has been absolute, and again, I recognize this within Chelsea because my club has been through it. The lack of stability at the football club also plays a big part. And it's really interesting listening to Ten Hag talk at the moment with a smile on his face saying they've taken a lot of responsibilities away. A lot of my role has changed, but he looks happy about it. You see it visibly on his face. I think he's realized I couldn't do what I was doing before. Now what I'm really here to do is coach. Now I hope it pays dividends. If it doesn't, you move him on. It happens. But he has already said that they're trying to bring in stability. They're streamlining things. The atmosphere, the culture feels better already. A long way to go, but we're looking to bring in those improvements. And that for me is what's also not helped Chelsea has been the inconsistencies at board level, the chopping and the changing. And we know their plan has changed, whether they want to admit to it or not. Because when they gave Potts the deal, it was, it's a short-term deal because that's the way we're going to be giving managers, you prove yourself, then you become the manager. They get rid of him and Maresca comes in on a 5-year deal. So whatever happened, you've changed your plan of action again because you've gone for a different type of manager and a new approach. And that is where I'll defend some of the players. That area of Chelsea has been an absolute mess as well. And, as you said earlier, I hope for their sake they kind of get it right. I don't like seeing clubs misrun, mistreated and falling apart, whether they've got money or not. But at the same time, I think the fans have got to wake up and smell the coffee with some of these players. They really, really do. This here says, next time someone says Arsenal have the worst fan base, remember Chelsea fans since Bowley took over.
Do you know what? That is such a good point because I've been unpopular with my own fan base for saying how deluded some of us are and the section is so toxic and all this until Chelsea have taken over. I mean, Chelsea have just shouted out, hold my beer, because they are the most sensitive. We've got one in the chat earlier here saying that Mudryk has been a better signing than Havertz has for Arsenal. Like, what is happening here? This is embarrassing, isn't it, really? Really is.
Say that again.
What bit?
The end bit about who's better. So I just read. I got sent a message. And I had to check it as you said it, and I think I heard
someone
you,
in the chat. Someone in the chat said, "Oh, that Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunez and Havertz have been worse signings than Mudryk." I don't know how, but he's obviously a Chelsea fan. Very, very worried.
Fuck off. Sorry, let me fuck off. Come on now. Mykhailo Mudryk, for the money he costs, has been one of the worst signings. I would actually argue that he's been a worse signing than Antony. At least Antony's been part of a Man United team that's won 2 trophies. At the very and he scored and he scored goals in the run-ins. He's been awful, Antony. He's been a flop. But he scored goals in the run-ins and in the run to win trophies. Factually right or wrong? It's right.
The ball's awful.
No, I know they are, but I'm just saying to say that Mudryk's been better than those other guys. I'm like, bruv, he's worse than Antony, and Antony's been awful. Come on now, I mean, what his best moment was a fluky cross that went in. That's the crazy bit. His best moment in the Chelsea shirt is when he fluked a goal by a mishit cross. All the other players, at least, have had moments. Do you get where I'm coming from? I wouldn't say any of them, maybe Kai Havertz, have been amazing signings. But come on, bro. You can't believe that.
I don't even think Kai Havertz has been an amazing signing. I've got the comment here, Royal Obsidian. Literally, as I glanced over, I saw so many in the chat, you can't keep up. It says, Antony, Diaz, Nunez, Havertz. Shut the F up, Dan. Mudryk is better than all of them.
It says here, like, Antony prop. Again, that's not prop. That isn't prop. I said he was bad. But he's still better than the guy you've mentioned. What you've said makes no sense. Crazy comment. Chelsea are like the kid in a candy store who wants everything but can't handle crap. There's so many players much suited than what they've bought, but better suited than what they bought.